video about the bouncing bow in orchestral excerpts, otherwise known as spiccato. So I'm trying to get my bounce back, and just as background, I played the bass when I was a kid and a teenager, and stepped away for several decades, and now I'm getting back to playing the double bass. So I got my instrument repaired and got it back at the end of April 2025, and I've been practicing every day since. But I just recently turned on the metronome, and that led to wanting to practice orchestral excerpts, which led to wanting to audition. So I'm working on that now, and it's today is September 12th, 2025. So that just gives you some context of where I'm at. I'm not pretending to be perfect or good at this. I'm sharing my journey with you so you can see, what's involved, and hopefully you'll see my progress over time. And so several of these orchestral excerpts really highlight bowing technique, and I've been thinking about it, and so I'm going to discuss with you and play bits of excerpts from Mozart, Beethoven, Mendelssohn, Brahms, and Strauss today. Because, I think when I'm playing these, I want to make it clear which composer it is, to the listener. And then also looking back at the actual sheet music, I'm noticing a lot of places there's no dots on the music where I traditionally played that part off the string. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'll get into that more for each excerpt, and hope it promotes some discussion on that. I think the reality is, in practice, when you're in an orchestra, you have the conductor, concert master, principal cello, and principal bass telling you what to do. Maybe even the second violin and viola principals if they want to. So once you're in an orchestra, you don't really have to make these decisions, because you'll definitely, hear what people are doing and blend into those around you. But for an audition, you have to make these decisions for yourself. And so that makes it a little tricky. So anyway, let's get started. And I'm going to go through the different excerpts and little snippets from them and try to show how I'm trying to make it sound different and give you a flavor for it. So the excerpts from Mozart for this audition I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for an audition at the end of this month. So wish me luck. Anyway, for Mozart Symphony 39 in the first movement, there's a passage that goes like this. But what I noticed returning to this excerpt after so many years away is that at letter A, which is where I started, there aren't any dots. And the dots actually start right before letter B. But if you don't play this with some kind of bounce, I think it sounds weird, Let's hear what it sounds like without a bounce. I've never heard anyone play it that way. So I'm going to stick with the bounce. I would say for Mozart, and I'm not happy with how I'm playing it right now, because I feel like it still sounds like Brahms. I think Brahms is my default sound. I think for it to sound like Mozart, it has to sound lighter, more controlled, more balanced, more even. So yeah, a little more like that and less like Brahms. So still working on that one. Okay, so next up, we have Beethoven Symphony No. 9, fourth movement, which again should sound like Beethoven and not like Mozart and not like Brahms. So this one's trickier than I remember. I'll give you a little taste of this and then we can talk about it. See, lost it right there. So, to make it sound like Beethoven, I think it should sound heavier, louder. There should be more bow used, I think. But again, and this is the part that's just cracking me up, this whole excerpt that I'm used to hearing played with a bouncing bow does not have any dots on it. But like, it would sound so weird if it weren't played off the string. So, I mean, isn't that interesting? So I guess we just have these accepted practices where we've all agreed that a section of music should be played with a bouncing bow, and if you don't do that, it'll be really weird. And like this part too. Do you hear how I'm doing that? Like, what if I did it like this? Like, that sounds really bizarre, you know? So just giving a little lift to the notes sounds more like what you're used to hearing. So yeah, and wow, this excerpt is like way trickier than I remember, so I better really buckle down and practice that one a lot. So next we have Mendelssohn Symphony No. 4. And again, I want this to sound like Mendelssohn and not like Mozart or Beethoven or Strauss or Brahms. And this one starts out piano and has a lot of dynamic contrast. So let me give this a try. But this is, again, another one. This does have dots at the beginning, but then the dots go away for this part. But it would sound so weird to not bounce the bow. So I just feel like, again, there's just an established practice that we keep on bouncing. And then that makes a really nice contrast to the thematic part. So I have to practice that, obviously. But again, it's kind of tricky because, like, how do we make Mendelssohn sound like Mendelssohn and not like Mozart, for example? Because this part where it's really quiet could have kind of a Mozart-esque feel. I feel like there's a little bit more weight to it. But yeah, these are all the things, and these are all the nuances that I'm trying to figure out as I go along here. Okay, and then moving on to Brahms, which, like I said earlier, is kind of how I naturally play, I guess, because I like being loud, and I like I like just being very emphatic, you know? So, but yeah, Brahms Symphony No. 2. Try that again. This does have dots in the places I was doing some bounce, so that's good. But yeah, this sound. I feel like for Brahms, we wind up not bouncing as high and kind of digging in more. Also, you know, what adds to that is the dynamics here are supposed to be loud, you know, it's forte with sforzando. So yeah, so like I said, Brahms is sort of my natural happy place for playing, but then that makes it so when I play anything else, I have to make an effort to not sound like I'm playing Brahms. And then finally in Strauss, there's some dots in Ein Heldenleben, like number 9. And I mean, by the time you get there, you're just so worn out, it's easy to kind of not worry about it too much, but giving it its due, I kind of feel like these are a mixture of if you mix Brahms with Mozart, which I know sounds weird, but I'm just talking about the bowing styles. Yeah, so anyway, here's all my deep thoughts about bouncing the bow. Peter Spring taught me spiccato when I was a kid, and he was a great teacher and did a great job. Unfortunately, it's not exactly like riding a bicycle, because coming back to the bass, my spiccato is not so good, you know? What I want to achieve through practicing is a spiccato that's even, controlled, and it'd be really nice to not hear the difference between a down bow and an up bow, and also to have the ability to differentiate between the styles of music. So those are all things I'm working on. You know, let me know how it's going for you with your practicing. Like, do you work on making these excerpts sound different stylistically and musically, and how does that affect your bowing technique? Yeah, so like I said, I'm preparing for an audition, and I'm going to have a live stream on Thursday, September 18th at 7 o'clock. We're going to play through more of these excerpts, and hopefully by then I will have figured out how to play them better. And thanks again for joining me as I journey through the excerpts and hopefully get my bounce back. Bye, everyone.